is here for that, starting with a boost for Europe's beleaguered car industry.
Yes, there are signs of real improvement when it comes to car sales in the European Union. Sales surged during December by more than 13% in comparison to the same month in 2012. That's the highest growth figure in 4 years. It's seen as a sign that the market is turning up again after an otherwise bad year. If you take a look at all of 2013 sales, they were down 1.7%, and that is the 6th straight year of contraction. In Europe, the mid-segment of the market suffered the most in 2013. Brands like Peugeot, Fiat and Opel are struggling. At the same time, luxury car makers are celebrating a record year, and their confidence is showing at the Detroit Auto Show. But even as the luxury segment powers ahead, it's not without its challenges.
Kicking off the Detroit Auto Show in style, Mercedes enlisted former Destiny's Child star Kelly Rowland to help give the launch of their new C-Class a bit of sparkle. The German car maker could be excused a bit of exuberance. It claimed top spot in the US luxury market in 2013. However, that wasn't enough to get it to #1 worldwide. That honour went to BMW.
It was our most successful year ever in sales, with over 1.96 million vehicles sold worldwide.
But nothing stays the same for long in the car industry, and while luxury marques trade on heritage, that doesn't mean they're immune to change. Jaguar Land Rover have just announced record sales, up nearly a fifth on the previous year.
50% of our sales now are in emerging markets. And we're making sure that that continues in the future because we've got a new joint venture with Chery in China.
European marques are seeing their dominance challenged. In the US, Cadillac has recently gained more of a spring in its step.
But I think in terms of the top of the segment, it's still dominated by the European manufacturers. Cadillac is trying to price itself up into that territory.
Luxury vehicles still only account for around 10% of the US market. But when it comes to profit, they take a much larger slice of the action, meaning it's likely that competition will only increase in the years to come.
Now, earnings season is underway, and after strong stock market gains last year, investors are looking for signs whether company results support further upticks. Citigroup's quarterly profit fell short of expectations, though, coming in at $2.7 billion. This as the US-based bank saw its bond and mortgage business weaken between October and December. Citigroup's CEO still says the bank made some progress, with quarterly costs coming in lower than last year. Another American bank, Goldman Sachs, reported a fall in quarterly earnings between October and December. Goldman made $2.25 billion. That's more than 20% lower than for the same period last year. The chief executive of the bank says the environment is somewhat challenging. Looking away from the banking sector, the world's biggest electronic goods store, Best Buy, also in the United States, says it had a disappointing Christmas period. Sales were down during the 9 weeks that ended on the 4th of January. Best Buy says it suffered from tough competition and heavy discounting to attract customers. Now, on the back of those earnings, we saw stocks trading to the downside over in the United States on Thursday. The Dow at least ended at 0.4% below the flat line. The Nasdaq at the same time actually ticked up somewhat, not by much though, around about 0.1%. We saw Citigroup shares suffering throughout trading, and also Best Buy shares. In Europe earlier, we saw stock markets close below the flat line. The retail sector was under pressure after some weaker than expected earnings. And taking a look at some other news, and one of those retail reports in Europe, French retailer Carrefour says its outlook in beleaguered European markets is improving. Its sales in Spain grew in the fourth quarter for the first time since 2008. The key market, France, was also rebounding. It still wasn't enough, though, to satisfy investors, and shares, they dropped by 3.7% in European trading. And we're going to finish up with a rather unusual protest against higher sales taxes in France. One person has been arrested after dumping tons of horse manure in front of the French Parliament. It's believed the protester objects to a sales tax rise for riding schools in France. Those sales taxes for riding schools went up at the start of January. Police, they've been tight-lipped when it comes to further details, but this was the scene earlier on Thursday outside the French Parliament. A rather smelly protest, and with that I'm going to throw it back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Marcus. Time to bring in James Creedon and his cumbersome laptop for Media Watch.